Good morning, folks. This is Lindsey Huddleston with SPS back in the building for another SPS Monday Motivation. And yes, it is a new time. I will be presenting my Monday Motivations at 8 a.m. for the very foreseeable future. Have some changes in my daily schedule, and it's time to get at our folks at 8 a.m. Sure, some of you like that better than 7 a.m. Shout out to Michelle, Mimi Watkins, all the folks who've been supporting me all the time, Coach Kevin Marshall, all the regulars that will fall through. So what are we talking about today on today's Monday Motivation? First of all, I hope you had a great week. Hope you had a great weekend. And this topic, as I always say, I sometimes pull from the headlines or, share things out of my personal life and experience. And there's been an ongoing discussion I've been having with a good friend. It involved a third party and someone who was really having a difficult time getting it going. There he is, my homeboy right there. Good morning, brother. Watching from the classroom. Okay. Shout out to everybody up there in Bear Country, man. So what I'm talking about today, Coach Marshall, is the SPS Monday Motivation. Are you looking for validation to start or stop something? Are you looking for validation to start or start something? Now, validation isn't to be confused with confirmation. Confirmation is the official word, getting that stamp of approval, that letter in the mail saying, hey, you're good to go. But validation is more of an emotional aspect where it's about how you feel and how people feel about what you're doing and what you're talking about. Why do people seek validation from others? Now, we may be quick to want to dismiss it and say, hey, I don't need no validation from others. I don't need that. I just want to focus on me. However, I do want to talk about the science of it a little bit. There's a number of reasons. Now, this is deep. This is probably as far as I go on it, but it said you might seek too much validation as an adult if you receive too little or too much external validation in your childhood. We can stem all our, adult type goings and comings back to our childhood. If you receive, not enough validation, not enough pats on the back, not enough support as a child, maybe as an adult, you're going to require more. Or maybe as a young person, you receive so much external validation. Attaboy, you're great, or you're good. That girl, you got it going on, girl, and all these type of things. You find yourself having this need at this point. Shout out to Wu Payne, my guy, getting it in this morning, brother. I know you got some good things going on with the Wu League coming up soon. I see all the excitement stemming around that. So what we're talking about, Wu, is, starting and stopping, getting things going. Now, these two brothers who are on right now, Kevin Marshall and James Wu Payne, have no problem starting something. They have created great opportunities within their community from the work that they've done, whether it's been coaching, whether it's been the work they've done outside of coaching, whatever it may be. They don't have any problem with it. However, we're all not at that point where we can just move on out. And I'm sure, like all of us, they had their challenges when they were getting things going. So what I want to talk about today is one thing that really stood out to me is that where are you at on the validation spectrum? That's right. There's this talk about a spectrum that's out there that you can look at as it relates to your validation. Again, that's what we're focused on right now. And where are you at on that? Now this is a visible light spectrum, so this is not the validation spectrum, but I put the image out there to say, are you in need of a lot of validation or little to none? And the reason why I reference that part referring to the spectrum is because with a spectrum, there's different phases of it that you may need. There's a different amount. Oh, look at that. Michelle, Mimi Watkins, she's on it at 7 a.m. all the time, at 8 a.m. Good morning, Michelle. Thank you. My brother Wu Payne said, amen. I appreciate it, brother. Yeah, but here's what I'm getting at is to talk a little bit more about that. Why do we seek validation? Well, we all want to feel understood and valued. That's a human trait. That's part of human nature. And I don't care if you roll solo, dolo, or whatever it may be. You may be accustomed to that, but we all want to feel understood and valued. And when we sense that others have understood our perspective, we feel safer in that relationship and more confident in general. That's why when you have a new idea, Wu, when you have a new idea, Kevin, Michelle, when you have a new idea, sometimes at one point in my life, we wanted to be able to tell someone and get all this great feedback. That's the part about us feeling safer in our relationships. It makes us more confident. But the more we go on, we have to realize that the Most High has blessed us with our own individual ideas. Michelle said, I'm late today, but I will get adjusted to the new time. No, you're fine. You're always on time. I appreciate you being here. You are just fine. And Kevin says, I don't need none of mine. It's from God. What I do is from Him. He leads me to it. Look at the maturity and the growth that you had to get to that point. when you're talking about the only external factor that gives you strength is the Most High. And that's what I was getting at. Because when the Most High blesses you with an idea, with a concept, it's for you. What's given to you is for you. And when you try to go, when you try to explain to people and hope that people will buy in and sign off and throw a parade for you, as I tell my friends, sometimes we get stuck and we get in a bad way when we don't get that validation. We don't get that feedback from other people. So going back to the story I was telling you with a good friend of mine, he put me in contact with a third party, and they were giving every excuse and every reason why they couldn't move forward. And part of that discussion was hoping to get validation from my friend and I. You say, yeah, we understand your struggle. But she was met with a surprise. We didn't have validation for her. We responded differently. We said, hey, you got to go through what you got to go through to get to where you want to go. This is the experience that we've had, et cetera, et cetera. So it just makes me want to share that story. It makes me want to put that out there to you, that it is human nature to seek validation. But you have to realize where you are on that validation spectrum as far as how much you need and how much you really can realistically expect. The further out you go in the deep end of ideas, if you will, if I was being symbolic about a pool or the ocean, the further away you go from the shoreline to your own thoughts and things that are just specific for you, the less validation and support you're going to have. See, when you're at the shoreline or when you're in the shallow end or when you sit in the hot tub, any and everybody can come and sit and be part of that conversation. Any and everybody can come sit right there and be right there with you and say, you attaboy, that's it, girl, and be with you. But when you start going further into the deep end, further out into the ocean, there's going to be less and less people who can swim that with you. So you won't be able to get that validation, that external validation that we are supposed to get. My brother, Wu Pei, says, don't need validation. The validation is the work. You put in it and seeing people like your ideas or things that you do, that's my validation. When they sign up and they say that goes without saying. Right there, I appreciate that, Wu. And Kevin goes and says all facts. And I'm glad I got you two guys as an example, because you guys have gone through the fire. You've gone through the arduous task of taking the idea and dare say, I'm going to make this idea come to fruition despite what others may think. So that is the outcome when you see James Wu Payne talking about what he's doing, Kevin Marshall, what he's doing, Michelle Mimi Walker, what she has been doing. It talks about that process and where they are in the spectrum. Perfect example. I think it's fair to say they need little to no validation. Like Wu said, the validation is going to be the work. Like Kevin said, the validation is God. That's the only validation he needs. But everyone is not so far along in their validation maturity. That's right, their validation maturity to be able to recognize that. So when you get to that point where you feel that you can't get it, when you get to that point where you feel you're not getting it, that's when you got to step away and say, maybe I need to mature some more. Maybe I need to find out where I am on this validation spectrum. How much do I need? And let's be honest. Be honest with yourself about how much you're really going to end up getting. Let's talk about that. Because sometimes you may be seeking validation and you won't be able to get any. Because there's nobody around, there's nobody with you, there's nobody side by side who has the ability to give it to you. Don't mean people are always hating on you. It just means that they're not in the space that they could see your vision and be just as motivated for you about your vision as you are. That's all. And maybe it's not even a vision long term. Maybe it's just a day to day. Maybe it's the job you go into every day and the communication you have with people. Some people are just not capable. Now, some may say, I am capable and I'm not going to give it to you. That's on them. But just understand where you are and what you need. Because I don't want the need for validation to stop you from moving on. Somebody who's hearing this right now may have a great idea, may have a great plan, but because they're not getting the validation they think they need, they won't move forward on it. You understand me? I feel I have to say that again. Somebody may listen to this, or somebody listen to this message may be able to pass on the word that they feel that they can't go forward with a plan or idea they've been blessed with because they're not getting the validation they feel they should get to go forward with. If you look to the left or right and look to people in order to help you move forward, that's not necessarily what it is. Like Wu says, the validation is the work. Go out there and put in some work. Just start somewhere. As my guy, Stanford Wilkinson said in a recent podcast interview, he said, man, it ain't going to never be right when you're trying to start. There's never going to be this perfect time. There's just going to be an opportunity in the window that you got to take advantage of. And like he said in the podcast, we heard so many times, the richest place in the world is the cemetery. Those are all these great, ideas go to die. People take them with them. Deliver me from somebody who talking about what I'm about to do. Keep me with these real ones out here, the Kevin Marshalls of the world who get out and do it, the Michelle Mimi Watkins of the world who get out and do it, the James Wu Paynes of the world who get out and do it. And if you're not at that point where you have the ability like Wu or Kevin or Michelle to step out on what you're talking about, just work on what you need to work on until you get the time to go, because what's for you is you. Don't let someone else's progress or someone else's experience make you say, oh, I got to do something, because it's not coming from a pure place. Let it be that, hey, this is what I'm working on. I'm going to work on it no matter what is going on. So with that, guys, I won't keep you too much on this Monday motivation, this Monday morning motivation. I want to wish you guys a great, great week. I appreciate the support. Like I said, I'll be moving to 8 o'clock for the indefinite future. And thank you, everybody, for what you're doing. Lastly, Kevin said, there's been many times I felt no one supported me with my vision, but I kept pushing and believing in myself. I tell kids, it's time to bet on you. Yeah, that's right, Kevin. You said it right. You got to keep pushing. He tells me to have a blessed day, and you've been a blessing to me today too, brother. With that, guys, we'll see you next time. Appreciate you. Thanks for all the love and support. See you guys next time. Peace.